Hey guys, welcome to the second part of my Kasem special. Since YouTube decided to block most of my first one, I'm coming at you with a second one, and it's going to be a lot longer, but that's mainly due to audio content, which I'll present later on to you. Anyway, I'm going to start off with a clip from Piers Morgan's old CNN show, Piers Morgan Tonight. That was on the air when the whole Casey Kasem family deal was going down. He hadn't passed away yet. His wife was in the process of duking it out with the rest of the family. She was moving his body all over the world. You know, Carrie Kasem said she never understood why his wife wanted him buried in Israel. Because he was American as apple pie, and he was. That's one thing I wish I would have touched on the last show, was the fact that Casey Kasem loved America. He was an immigrant from Lebanon. So, I mean, you can imagine. That's what prompted the name American Top 40. He loved America. He always talked about it. He always involved himself in political issues. Some I didn't agree with, some I did agree with, but it doesn't matter. He was a great American. He was passionate about what he believed in, and I respect the guy. And he didn't overload his programs with his own beliefs. He did all that stuff off the air, but when he went on the air, it was Casey Kasem Top 40 time, you know, or it was Shaggy Rogers, Scooby-Doo, you know. Whatever he was doing, he went into character, and that's how he entertained you. He didn't barrage you with a bunch of political stuff like a lot of entertainers today do. He kept all that stuff in his personal time. And that was another thing that I respected about the man so much, that he was able to do that. Because even I don't think I'd be able to do that. The force is too strong. Anyways, I'm going to start this off with a clip from CNN. This is from back before he passed away, when the feud was going on with his wife Jeannie and his kids and his brother and the rest of his family. Two of the kids went on Piers Morgan Tonight, which was a show that aired at that time in primetime on CNN. And they were pleading for her to let them see their father, Casey Kasem. And you know, I couldn't show you the 48 Hours episode, but his ex-wife, whatever you want to say, his wife, Jean Kasem, is just so wrong. And, you know, I don't believe her. There's scenes in that they have where she was on drugs in a courtroom and she just passed out. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy stuff, and some of it's revealed in that show that I can't show you. Of her just high as a kite, standing outside yelling at people to get away from her. And I mean, all I'm going to say is she doesn't really have a leg to stand on. She lived off of Casey Kasem. Yes, she had that small stint on that TV show Cheers. Then once she got with him, that was it. She lived off of her husband, Casey Kasem. She doesn't have any credits to her name. The kids have all kinds of credits to their name. The son is a famous radio broadcaster in Singapore, and his daughter, Carrie Kasem, beautiful by the way, is a model and a radio personality of her own. I mean, she's making dough. So why? What is this about them using him as a cash machine? They had money. She may not, now that all that's been settled, but Anyways, let me show you this clip. This was right before he died. I don't really have a date. I apologize for that. But this is Piers Morgan tonight from CNN.
This is an awful story. You know, I've got 4 kids. I'm one of 4 kids. My mum's one of 4 kids. Big family. The idea that somehow I wouldn't be able to see my father if he was as ill as your father is would be heartbreaking. And yet that is the position you find yourselves in. Kerry, what is going on here? Why does your stepmother, Jean, have such a resistance to you seeing your father?
You know, there's been a resistance for so long, ever since my father married her. So it's been a very long time. We saw this coming. We weren't blindsided by this. This is a man we saw, you know, every single week, talk to him every single day on the phone until he lost his voice. We are an extremely close-knit family, extremely. And his family means more to him than anything. So why she is blocking us it's the only...
It's dumbfounding, really.
It really is.
It seems to me utterly cruel. I mean, your father, I think he's suffering from Parkinson's, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's been deteriorating, and he's been, you know, having treatment and so on. You were allowed to see him briefly last week. Your stepmother, Jean, arranged for at a location. We're not allowed to say where it was.
No.
As part of the sort of absurd legal barriers we face here. But how was your father when you saw him?
We're not allowed to say that either, else the visitations can get pulled.
You can't even say how he is. You're his children.
It's amazing, but, you know, it is so important for us to see him. And especially, you know, I just came in from Singapore where I work. And so I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to see him again. And so I was so happy to just even get that 20 minutes I got. And so to see him was just the most special thing to me because I was able to quickly say, actually I only got 5 minutes at that point. And I was able to tell him all the things that I needed to say, just in case that was the last time I'd ever see him. So that was very special. But just to only get that much time, it's
horrendous.
Yeah.
Now, Kerry, in terms of the law, am I right in thinking that the law protects your stepmother in her home, which is where your father predominantly spends his time? Therefore, you can't actually go inside her house without her permission. Is that right?
That's right. We'll be arrested. And we tried everything to get her to let us see him when she stopped bringing him over to the house. She had an assistant bring him over to the house so we could see him every weekend. She stopped. My sister went there, knocked on the door, and she was escorted off the property. And
do you have grandchildren as well? Any children between you?
Our sister has children.
And they can't see their grandfather?
They will probably never see their grandfather.
So look, I mean, if she's watching tonight, she probably is, right? Your stepmother, Jean. Talk directly to her. What would you say to her?
Wow, I mean...
You know, it's so tough because you know, when you know somebody or you've met somebody before and you know them just a little bit, you know how to approach them. And with Jean...
We don't know her.
I don't think she knows us.
But given nothing has worked so far, now's your chance. You're live on CNN.
Yeah.
What do you want to say to this person to try and make her see sense and let 2 obviously loving children see their father?
Piers, we've said everything we needed to say to her, whether it's to a camera, whether it's to you, whether it's to a judge or to our lawyers.
I mean, but what it's about, and more than us, is our dad, and you know, him having just some stimulation and love and care around him, provided by everybody, including us as children.
It's not just us, though, and we need to say this, and we need to say this loud and clear. It's not just the kids. It's his brother, it's his cousins, it's his best friends. Everybody has been blocked from seeing my father.
And we're talking people he's known since the 40s. You know,
is she doing? Let's try and play devil's advocate. Is part of the reason she's doing this that she doesn't want people to see your father in the condition that he's in?
My father's biggest joy in life was his family and his friends. He always loved to have gatherings. We'd have our Lebanese food. We'd play our cards, and we'd have family time. That was so important to him. Now, when we did see him, we had so very little time with him. It's like, take the person that you love most on earth. Know that they're sick, know they want to see you. You get 20 minutes with them before being ripped away by an armed guard and having them say, please stay, and you can't.
How sad is that? I mean, I don't want to curse, but what a B word, you know? It looks to me like his wife just wants the money. It really does. I mean, she goes out of her way to just be an ass, you know? I mean, I don't know what to say. Alright, so I'm going to start some of the audio montages I've made. I'm going to kind of cut these up a little bit because I want to kind of present something. I don't know. This is my very first special, talking to you guys about something that is a huge part of me that I love. And, you know, but I've already told you, there's no professionalism here. So it's just me, the camera. So I wing it. And you see raw. I am raw. Okay, so for about 15 minutes here, I trimmed down his very first show that went on the air on only 7 radio stations in 1970 on July 4th. Unfortunately, I don't have that very small list of stations to tell you, but I mean, that's all we got. And in less than a year, he was on thousands of stations all over the country. He was that good. First show, only 7 stations. 1 year later, thousands of stations. So, let's get into this. I hope you enjoy it. Let's go.
We go with the top 40 hits in the nation this week on American Top 40, the best-selling and most played songs from the Atlantic to the Pacific, from Canada to Mexico. This is Kasem in Hollywood, and in the next 3 hours, we'll count down the 40 most popular hits in the United States this week, hot off the record charts of Billboard magazine for the week ending July the 11th, 1970. In this hour, at number 32 in the countdown, a song that's been a hit 4 different times in 19 years. And we're just 1 tune away from the singer with the $10,000 gold hubcaps on his car. Now on with the countdown.
Number 40.
Here's Marvin Gaye. You're listening to a countdown of the 40 most popular songs in America. This is Kasem on with the countdown.
Number 39.
Here's a star who doesn't spend all his money foolishly. Some of it went for gold hubcaps on his $72,000 Rolls. In fact, he replaced all the chrome with 14-karat gold. And I'll bet he doesn't park it on the street. Mark Lindsay.
Get aboard the Silverbird, departing gate 19. Satisfy your ultimate mind, trying out a dream. Your sign is Capricorn in every corner of your life. Says you'll remain my friend until you're mine. Silverbird, fly my lady away. Silverbird, take her over the lake. Silverbird, get my lady a ride, and we'll see what's on the other side. Silverbird, fly my lady away. Pretty bird, today is the day. Lone rangers and strangers will knock at her door, but I know my baby's no baby no more. Silverbird, fly my lady away. Pretty bird, today is the day. When you come home, my crazy heart, greet those silver wings. Your pet dog will remember you, and I'll carry your things. We'll catch your running makeup, and you will look just fine. And you remain my friend until you're
Oliver Bird, Mark Lindsay, and we're counting them down on American Top 40.
Casey's Coast to Coast.
This is Casey. We're on a time trip today, exactly 5 years into the past. What you're hearing is a rerun of the first AT40 countdown ever broadcast. On the 4th of July, 1970, these were the 40 best-selling singles in America.
American Top 40.
This is Casey Kasem in Hollywood. On with the countdown.
Number 38.
All right, all you dream analysts, turn up the sound. Here's Eric Burden with his new group called War, and the song is called Spill the Wine.
Once out strolling one very hot summer's day, when I thought I'd lay myself down to rest in a big field of tall grass. I lay there in the sun and felt it caressing my face as I fell asleep and dreamed. I dreamed I was in a Hollywood movie, and that I was the star of the movie. This really blew my mind. The fact that me, an overfed, long-haired, leaping gnome, should be the star of a Hollywood movie. But there I was. I was taken to a place, the Hall of the Mountain King. I stood high upon a mountain top, naked to the world, in front of every kind of girl. There was long ones, tall ones, short ones, brown ones, black ones, round ones, big ones, crazy ones. Of the middle came a lady. She whispered in my ear something crazy. She said, "Little wine, take that girl. Little wine, take that girl. Little wine, take that girl. Little wine, take that." I thought to myself, what could that mean? Am I going crazy? Or is this just a dream? Now wait a minute, I know I'm lying in a field of grass somewhere. So it's all in my head. And then I heard her say, one more time. Little wine, take that girl. 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 I could feel hot flames of fire roaring at my back as she disappeared. But soon she returned. In her hand was a bottle of wine, in the other a glass. She poured some of the wine from the bottle into the glass and raised it to her lips. And just before she drank it, she said, "Take the wine, take that girl. Spill the wine, take that girl. Spill the wine, take that girl. Come on, come on. Spill the wine, take that girl, take that girl. Yeah, it's all yours. You gotta do it. Spill that wine, spill that wine. Let me feel, let me feel.
Eric Burden Still the Wine. Coming up, a group... Two to go, and the countdown continues.
Number 2.
I call them the Mini Temptations because when they're on stage, they are as flashy as the Temptations are today. And all of the reviews say it. Love You Saved by the Jackson 5. Now, before we get to this week's new number 1 song, let's take a look back at the number 1 song 5 years ago today. It was by an English group that Time magazine said were scruffy, wore outrageous clothes, flashed no toothy smiles, and brazenly thumped their noses at the adult world, and still rode the crest of a fantastic success. Wonder why they wrote this song.
I can't get no satisfaction. I can't get no satisfaction. 'Cause I tried, and I tried, and I tried, and I tried. I can't get no. I can't get no. Driving in my car, man comes on the radio. It's telling me more and more about some useless information supposed to fire my imagination. I can't get no. I no. Hey, hey, hey. That's what I say. I can't get no satisfaction. I can't get no satisfaction. 'Cause I tried, and I tried, and I tried, and I tried. I can't get no. I can't get no. When I'm watching my TV and a man comes on and tells me how white my shirts could be. But he can't be a man 'cause he doesn't smoke the same cigarettes as me. I can't get no. No. Hey, hey, hey. That's what I say. I can't get no satisfaction. I can't get no good reaction. 'Cause I tried, and I tried, and I tried, and I tried. I can't get no. I can't get no. When I'm riding around the world, and I'm doing this, and I'm signing that, and I'm trying to meet some girl to tell me, baby, better come back maybe next week. 'Cause you see, I'm on a losing streak. I can't get no. No. Hey, hey, hey. That's what I say. I can't get no. I can't get no. I can't get no satisfaction. No satisfaction. No satisfaction. No satisfaction.
Satisfaction, the Rolling Stones. This is Casey Kasem with American Top 40. We've counted down 39 of this week's 40 best-selling songs in the country. Well, that leaves only one, and it moved into the top spot just this week. And as far as I know, this group has never explained exactly why they chose their weird name, but they do tell us where they found it. On chilly nights, the Aborigines of Australia took a dog to bed with them to keep warm. On colder nights, they'll take 2 dogs. And when it really gets cold, they need 3 dogs to keep from freezing. Now that's a cold night. A 3-dog night.
Billboard's number 1.
Want some whiskey and you wanna sugar in your tea? What's all these crazy questions they're asking me? This is the craziest party that could ever be.
Mama told Told Me, Three Dog Night. And that winds it up for the 40 top hits in America this week. Our countdown is based on Billboard's tabulation of the top 100 popular records for the week ending July the 11th, 1970. American Top 40 is written and produced by Don Bastani. Statistics, Ben Marichel. Mixed by Bill Hergensen. Executive producer is Tom Rons. Well, this is Casey Kasem saying I hope I'll see you again next week. Can we count on it? Because we're going to count down the 40 most popular songs in the country. Until then, keep your feet in the ground and keep reaching for the stars. Hold it.
Yep, that was his signature saying. Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. And that was the first time he ever said it. The 4th of July, 1970. Now, you heard a spot in that where he said that they were playing a tape from 5 years ago. As you read on the screen, the source of this recording was actually a rerun during the show's 5th anniversary, where they played the first show in celebration of the show's 5th anniversary in 1975 on WPIX in New York City. And man, didn't AM sound a whole lot better back then? I mean, obviously that's an old recording, but I mean, you can listen to that. You know, I've been watching a lot of documentaries on radio in preparation for all this, and that's one thing I came across. All these kids today that says AM radio sucks, we hate it, it's who could listen to this? Well, the reason it sounds so terrible today is because of all the broadcast and Wi-Fi stuff in the air. See, back in the 70s, well, going all the way back to the 1920s, all the way up until the 1980s, the only signals in the air were your local television stations, your local radio stations, and, I mean, the other government stuff that's needed, like police scanners and telephone lines and all that, but that was it. Now, today, we have internet, broadband, Wi-Fi, cable TV did come along in the 80s, but you saw it go away at that point too. What else is there? Streaming, like I said, Wi-Fi. All this stuff has degraded the signals and quality of radio in general, because even FM radio today isn't very good. I mean, it sounds like it did on that tape. You heard the FM static. See, WPIX was actually an FM station. So in New York City, American Top 40 was always on FM, which is rare because most of his markets at that time in the 70s were AM, because most radio stations were on AM. The only stuff that was on FM in the 70s was like elevator music, soft, airy sounds, stuff like easy listening, kind of like the Sirius XM station Escape. That's basically what was on FM radio back then. And there was progressive rock where they were experimenting, playing albums and things like that. There's a movie from 1978 that's called FM, and it stars Martin Mull and Linda Ronstadt and a whole bunch of musicians as well as big comic stars. But it basically showcases what the state of FM radio was in 1978, which was not commercial. It was more of an experiment. And, in the movie, they're supposed to be losing it all, losing the license and all that, and then all the listeners come out and show their support, and they got a whole parking lot full of people, It's one of those things. Basically, FM radio was an experiment in the 70s. It didn't really come along until the 1980s, which is why, like here in Baton Rouge, I told you in the last one, from 1970 to 1983, American Top 40 was on 1300 AM WIBR. And then in 1983, it moved to the same place it is today, 102.5 FM WFMF. Because in the early 80s, stations started getting commercialized and all the conglomerates were buying them up just like they are today. And that's when it started. But in the 70s, it was just an experimentation. So most music was heard on the AM dial. But when you go to YouTube, I implore you to go to YouTube and look up 70s radio. You'll notice what it sounds like. Even though these are old tapes, the signals and everything, the sound is so much better than anything you'd be able to get from an AM radio today. And I think that's because most of the stations back then were like 50,000 watts. They were high power because they had to be. They were playing music. I mean, you have to want to listen to it, you know. So they all sounded great. See, now they don't really play music on AM anymore. It's mostly like talk and religious programming and stuff like that. So, and the audience for AM isn't really high today. So they just kind of get away with it. Which is funny because in Orlando, Florida, where I lived for 7 years of my life, there is an AM station, 1360 AM, Boss Hog Radio. It actually plays music of the 70s. It's a 70s music station. And their slogan is, making AM radio great again. Stole that from Trump. But anyway, I'm getting off topic here. So, that was Casey's first show. You know, not the full show, of course. I don't have time for that. And I apologize for the little blips and audio cuts and all that. It was there, and that's all I've got to show you. So, I would rather show it to you like that than not show it to you. So I apologize for that. And you heard some FM static in there. Because also back then I learned that FM was not actually perfected yet. There were a lot of signal issues. One I was reading about was called FM signal drift. I don't know much about it, so if any of you who are a lot older than I am can tell me about this, leave comments below the video. And please, everybody like and subscribe. I need 50 subscriptions to be able to go live on my phone and provide y'all with so much more entertainment live. I would love to do live streams. Anyways, we're going to get into another piece here. It's going to start off, well, we're going to jumble around here because I didn't have time to sit here and make all this stuff perfect, but you'll get the gist. Here we're going to get into the 80s and 90s. Now, this is where I came into the picture. See, I wasn't around in the 70s. I was born in 1981. So by the time I started listening to Casey, he had already been on the air for probably 15 years already. So America Top 40 was about 15 years old by the time I started listening. But I'm going to show you some stuff from the 80s and 90s. And be on the lookout. I included a spot with Britney Spears being featured, who is from Kentwood, Louisiana, not far from Baton Rouge. So I just kind of threw that in there for everybody from Louisiana, but when she got on Casey Kasem, she blew up. See, that's what Casey was. First, you had to blow up anyway. But once your record made it to the top 40, you were in, and you became a bigger star and just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And Casey Kasem was responsible for that. He turned people into stars. And he did it for over 40 years. So anyway, let's get into this one from the 80s and 90s. Sorry, I'm searching for these on my computer. And away we go!
Sweet Child of Mine by the Los Angeles band called Guns N' Roses. It's their first chart single and debuts at number 34. I'm Casey. This is American Top 40. At number 33 is the hit I Still Believe by Brenda K. Starr, and it was produced by a Brazilian musician named Eumar Deodato. Now, you might remember his name. You see, in the early 70s, he adapted classical music written at the turn of the century by German composer Richard Strauss. Strauss's music had been used for the theme of the 1969 movie 2001: A Space Odyssey. And in 1973, Eumar Deodato hit with his version of it. Listen. With his hit titled Also Sprach Zarathustra. In 1973, it went to number 2. Then, in the late 70s, Deodato became a very successful producer. He produced 8 top 40 hits for Kool and the Gang, including the number 1, Celebration. This week, we find the Brazilian producer Deodato on the charts, producing the current hit by singer Brenda K. Starr. At number 33, here's I Still Believe.
You look in my eyes and I get emotional inside. I know it's crazy, but you still can touch my heart. And after all this time, you think that I wouldn't feel the same. But time melts into nothing, and nothing's changed.
Linda K. Starr from New York with I Still Believe. Her first top 40 hit. She took it to number 13. Now it tumbles 7 notches down to 33. Up next, the simply irresistible Mr. Palmer.
The hits from coast to coast. American Top 40.
We're counting down the biggest hits by the hottest stars, and 13 of those hits are by male solo singers. Here's a man originally from Yorkshire County in England, now living in Nassau in the Bahamas, Robert Palmer. He climbs 8 notches to number 32 with his latest hit, Simply Irresistible. To go on with you like that. Elton John moving up 7 notches to number 14. A lot of acts seem to be moving up 7 notches this week. Lucky number. And we've got 13 more lucky hits to go on our way to number 1 as the countdown continues.
The hits from coast to coast. American Top 40.
Billboard ranks them. AT40 counts them down.
Number 13.
Here's a 19-year-old who, back when he was in high school not too long ago in Boston, earned 3 letters in baseball and football, and he was even offered a football scholarship by the University of Iowa. But Al decided that music was where he wanted to score, and he has. His first hit went to number 1 on the Black Singles Chart and hit number 7 last week on the Pop Survey. Now it drops to 13. Here's Al B. Sure with Night and Day. I'll Be Sure with Night and Day. His hit falls from number 7, where it peaked, down to number 13. At number 12 is the first hit by the rap act out of Philadelphia, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. The Fresh Prince does the rapping, and he writes the raps as well. He told the LA Times, "I was into real poetry because it showed me how people could take words and paint pictures with them. When I rap, I try to create images with my words. I want you to feel like you close your eyes and you could see a video of the song running through your head." End of quote. Here's the image maker, the Fresh Prince, with his partner DJ Jazzy Jeff, up 5 notches to number 12 with Parents Just Don't Understand.
Parents are the same no matter time or place. They don't understand that us kids are going to make some mistakes. So to you other kids all across the land, there's no need to argue. Parents just don't understand. One year my mom took me school shopping. It was me, my brother, my mom, my pop, and my little sister all hopped in the car. We headed downtown to the Gallery Mall. My mom started bugging with the clothes she chose. I didn't say nothing at first, I just turned to my nose. She said, "What's wrong? This shirt costs $20. I said, "Mom, the shirt is plaid with a butterfly collar." The next half hour was the same old thing. My mother buying me clothes from 1963, and then she lost her mind and did the ultimate. I asked her for Adidas and she bought me Zips. I said, "Mom, what are you doing? You ruined my rap." She said, "You're only 16. You don't have a rep yet." I said, "Mom, let's put these clothes back, please." She said, "No. You go to school to learn, not for a fashion show." I said, "This isn't shining on. Come on, Mom. I'm not Bowser. Mom, please put back the bell-bottom Brady Bunch trousers. But if you don't want to, I can live with that. But you gotta put back the double-knit reversible slacks." She wasn't with it. Everything stayed the same. Inevitably, the first day of school came. I thought I could get over. I tried to play sick, but my mom said, "No way, forget it." There was nothing I could do. I tried to relax. I got dressed up in those ancient artifacts. And when I walked into school, it was just as I thought. The kids were cracking up, laughing at the clothes Mom bought. And those who weren't laughing still had a ball, because they were pointing and whispering as I walked down the hall. I got home and told my mom how my day went. She said, "If they were laughing, you don't need them, because they're not good friends." For the next 6 hours, I tried to explain to my mom that I was going to have to go through this about 200 more times. So to you other kids all across the land, there's no need to argue. Parents just don't understand. Okay, here's the situation. My parents went away on a week's vacation and they left the keys to the brand new Porsche. Will they mind? Well, of course not. I'll just take it for a little spin and maybe show it off to a couple of friends. I'll just cruise it around the neighborhood. Well, maybe I should. Yeah, of course I should. Pay attention, here's the thick of the plot. I pulled up to the corner at the end of my block, and that's when I saw this beautiful girly girl walking. I picked up my car phone to perpetrate like I was talking. You should have seen this girl's bodily dimensions. I honked my horn just to get her attention. She said, "Was that for me?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Why?" I said, "Come on and take a ride with a hell of a guy." She said, "How do I know you're not sick? You could be some deranged lunatic." I said, "Come on, toots. My name is the Prince. Besides, would a lunatic have a Porsche like this?" She agreed and we were on our way. She was looking very good, so as I must say, word. We hit McDonald's, pulled into the drive. We ordered 2 Big Macs and 2 large fries and Cokes. She kicked the shoes off onto the floor. She said, "Drive fast, speed turns me on." She put her hand on my knee. I put my foot on the gas. We almost got whiplash and took off so fast. The sunroof was open, the music was high, and this girl's hand was steadily moving up my thigh. She had opened up 3 buttons on her shirt so far. I guess that's why I didn't notice that police car. We're doing 90 in my mom's new Porsche, and to make this long story short, when the cop pulled me over, I was scared as hell. I said, "I don't have a license, but I drive very well, officer." I almost had a heart attack that day. Come to find out, the girl was a 12-year-old runaway. I was arrested, the car was impounded. There was no way for me to avoid being grounded. My parents had to come off on vacation to get me. I'd rather be in jail than to have my father hit me. My parents walked in and I got my grip. I said, "Mom, Dad, how was your trip?" They didn't speak. I said, "I want to plead my case," but my father just shoved me in the car by my face. That was a hard ride home. I don't know how I survived it. They took turns. One would beat me while the other one was driving. I can't parents just don't understand.
Parents just don't understand. At number 12 this week, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince rapping on Teen Troubles as the countdown rolls on.
The hits from coast to coast. American Top 40.
We're getting closer and closer to number 1.
Number 11.
It's Gloria Estefan and Miami Sound Machine with a party sound for the countdown. Up 8 notches.
1, 2, 3, 4. Come on, baby, say you love me. 5, 6, 7 times.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Casey's Top 40. I'm Casey Kasem, and I'm all set to count down the 40 most popular songs in the USA. Our rankings come from the official survey of radio stations from coast to coast, conducted by Radio and Records, the industry's #1 newspaper. Well, we have 4 debuts for you this week, including Celine Dion's follow-up to a recent Top 10 smash, Where Does My Heart Beat Now? And the first Top 40 hit in 3 years for Huey Lewis and the News. But before we start counting them down to number 1, let's take a look at the songs that topped the chart last week. At number 3, You're in Love by Wilson Phillips. At number 2, Roxette and Joyride. And at number 1 last week, Amy Grant with Baby Baby. was the #1 song in the USA last week on Casey's Top 40, Baby Baby by Amy Grant. Can Amy make it 2 weeks in a row? Or will she be beaten out by Rod Stewart, Roxette, or Kathy Dennis? There's only one way to find out. Let the countdown begin.
Number 40.
The first of our 4 debuts this week may sound familiar to you. That's because this 1991 rap features pieces of a 1970 soul classic by the Spinners. That song and this rap are both called It's a Shame. Here's the 1991 version by rapper Moni Love.
My sister, tell me what the trouble is. I'll try to listen good and give the best advice that I can give. So, what's up with you this time? Your honey took a dive and now he's playing with your mind. Oh no, this cannot be accepted. The feelings that belong to you must be protected. Hold up, time out, I shout. Get it together, sister, tell her to be not so just a mister. It's a shame. The way you mess around with my heart. It's a shame. The way you hurt me. It's a shame. The way you mess around with my heart. It's a shame. The way you hurt me. Get back on your feet, please. I'm begging you to check out on your own knees. Don't let nobody see you in a state of grieving over the brother. There's another possibility, which is for you to work out where you went wrong. I guarantee to you that it will not take long for you to make your mind up if the two of you belong. You know where honey's head at and where he's coming from. Get it out your system, don't be another victim. There's up the nerve, oh boy, he really picked him. Well, you know, it's time for you to show you're not sleeping. A progress report on the two of you you're keeping. Peeking through the peephole to see if honey's sneaking. You estimated right that night the other weekend. Collectively, the facts should conclude the decision. You called the brother in a terrible disposition. It's a shame. The way you mess around with my heart. It's a shame. The way you hurt me. It's a shame. The way you mess around with my heart. It's a shame. The way you hurt me. That's it, pack it up, be wise, my sister, cause the facts keep stacking up. Tell him to get the you know what, make sure the door is shut behind you. I do believe the brother's out of luck and stuff, but that's not your P-I-O-B-L-E-M. You gotta let him go and let him know this is the end. You've been kissed, dissed, listed as a dumb one. I hope he likes sad songs, he's gonna hum one. He's been a dumb and that's the way it is forever. There comes a time when you're at the end of your tether, and you know, I think you went far beyond that. So it was bound to backtrack and smack you with an irksome vengeance as it attacks you. Making sure you get the full entire view of who's to blame at the end of the game. Things will never be the same, and it's a crying shame. It's a shame. The way you mess around with my heart. It's a shame. The way you hurt me. It's a shame. The way you mess around with my heart. It's a shame. The way you hurt me. It's a shame. The way you mess around with my heart. It's a shame. The way you hurt me. It's a shame.
That's the first top 40 hit for rapper Moni Love. She debuts at number 40 with It's a Shame. Coming up, a request and dedication from a woman in New York State. She's 26 now, but she still hasn't gotten over her very first love, the love she had when she was only 14 years old.
Casey's Top 40.
I'm Casey Kasem. Casey's Top 40 originates in Hollywood. Gerardo originated in Guayaquil, Ecuador. He tumbles 18 notches to 39 this week with Rico Suave.
Rico, suave, rico, suave.
Seguro que han oído que yo soy educado. Soy un caballerito, un chico bien portado, un joven responsable y siempre bien vestido. Yo no sé quién ha mentido. I don't drink or smoke and into dope when I know coke. You ask me how do I do it, I cope. My only addiction has to do with a female species. I eat them raw like sushi. No me gusta interno, mi estilo es moderno. Si me interno, yo me enfermo. Mi apariencia es dura, vivo en la locura. No me vengan con ternuras. So please don't judge a book by its cover. There's more to being a Latin lover. You gotta know how to deal with a woman that won't let go. The price you pay for being a gigolo.
Rico, suave, rico, suave.
handle a man like me. That's why I juggle 2 or 3. I ain't wanna commit, you can omit that bit. You pop the question, that's it. A ver, 1, 2, 3, 4 mujeres. Y la situación ahí no muere, no es un delito. Calmo mi apetito, como un llanto o un grito. So again, don't let my lyrics mislead ya. I don't love you, but I need ya. Would you rather have me lie, take a piece of your pie and say bye, or be honest and rub your thighs?
Rico. Suave. Rico. Suave.
Well, it's 10 o'clock and I'm 2 hours late. I never said I was a prime date, but you kept persisting that I meet your parents. Huh, they're gonna love my appearance. Ding dong, el timbre suena. Tu madre abre, que vieja más buena. Le digo hola, pero no me para bola. ¿Qué se ha creído, vieja chola? Go and serve the food, mom, que tengo hambre. If you don't hurry, me va a dar un calambre. Y usted, señor, what's your chin on the floor? Cierra la boca, por favor. What's this, amor? These little huevos. Esto sí que yo no pruebo. I'm used to good old-fashioned home-style Spanish cooking. If I try that, I'll be puking. Well, it's been a pleasure, but we got to go. Regresaremos temprano, 5, 6 o 7 de la mañana. Su hija está en buenas manos.
Rico. Suave. Rico.
Last week it was number 21. This week it falls 18 notches to 39. That's Rico Suave by a singer and dancer named Gerardo. I'm Casey Kasem on Casey's Top 40. Remember your first love? Of course you do. That's something no one ever forgets, including Cindy, the 26-year-old woman from New York State, who sends us this request and dedication. Here's what she writes. Dear Casey, the saying goes, you never get over your first love. I feel I'm living proof. At the age of 14, I met Rob, the man of my dreams, only I didn't know it then. We had a very special friendship. I tutored him in Spanish, and he taught me all about sports. We began to spend all of our free time we had with each other. Shortly after, he had to move to another state, but he traveled in every weekend by bus and train to see me. I started to think things were getting too serious between us at such a young age and that it would be a good idea to date other people. I couldn't believe what a fool I was when I compared what was out there to the special, caring person I already had. Unfortunately, by then, my first love was already dating someone. The only thing I could count on was that his feelings for me were as strong as mine were for him. We began seeing each other again, and gradually our love for each other became as strong as it always was. As soon as Rob graduated from college, he took me up to a beautiful mountainside, played a tape he had made of all our special songs, gave me flowers, and proposed to me. We were married exactly 8 years to the day of our first date. Now, after 4 years of marriage, we have a beautiful baby girl. I'd like to dedicate the song Through the Years to my wonderful husband, Rob, because we've shared so many memories through the years together. I'll love you forever, Rob. Cindy. Cindy, here's your request and dedication.
I can't remember when you weren't there, when I didn't care for anyone but you. I swear we've been through everything there is. Can't imagine anything we've missed. Can't imagine anything the two of us can't do. Through the years, you've never let me down. You've turned my life around. The sweetest days I found with you. Through the years, I've never been afraid. I've loved the life we've made, and I'm so glad I stayed right here with you through the years. I can't remember what I used to do, who I trusted, who I listened to before. I swear you've taught me everything I know. Can't imagine needing someone so. But through the years it seems to me I need you more and more. Through the years, through all the good and bad, I know how much we had. I've always been so glad to be with you. Through the years, it's better every day. You've kissed my tears away. As long as it's okay, I'll stay with you through the years. Through the years when everything went wrong, together we were strong. I know that I belong right here with you. Through the years, I never had a doubt we'd always work things out. I've learned what life's about by loving you through the You've never let me down. You turned my life around. The sweetest days I found with you. Through the years, it's better every day. You've kissed my tears away. As long as it's okay, I'll stay with you.
Through the Years, a top 10 smash for Kenny Rogers in 1982, and a request and dedication from Cindy in New York State to her husband, Rob. If you'd like to send us a request and dedication, here's the address. Casey's Top 40, P.O. Box 4300, Hollywood, California, 90078.
Casey's Top 40.
I'm Casey Kasem. Well, we've got 4 new songs this week, and that means we gotta wave goodbye to 4 droppers. Round and Round, State of the World, Someday, and This House. And rolling in at number 38 with the second of our 4 debuts, here's the latest hit from the only French-Canadian singer ever to hit the top 10 in the USA. With her follow-up to Where Does My Heart Beat Now, here's Celine Dion and If There Was Any Other Way.
Sorry, I know I'm late. Guess I lost all track.
Casey's Coast to Coast.
American Top 40's heard in the 50 states and around the world every week on great radio stations like today's Best Music 93.7 KRQ, Tucson, Arizona. And here's our second debut. This one's by a singer who's brand new to the countdown. From Kentwood, Louisiana, here's 16-year-old Britney Spears on AT40 with Baby One More Time.
Me, baby, one more time.
Rolling in at number 39, that's the second of this week's 3 big debuts. Baby One More Time by Britney Spears.
American Top 40. American Top 40.
We're counting counting down the most popular songs of 1998. And touching down at 82 on our Top 100 is a graduate of the Mickey Mouse Club TV show. She traded in her ears for a song that hit the top 5 a couple of weeks ago and could go higher on our weekly survey. Here's Britney Spears with Baby One More Time. She celebrated her 17th birthday earlier this month. She's Britney Spears with Baby One More Time. The song lands on the year-end countdown at number 82. As AT40's year-end countdown rolls on.
Counting them down with Casey Kasem. The hits from coast to coast.
We're counting down the 40 most popular songs of the past 10 years. The song coming in at number 12 for the decade is by a talented teenager who seems to be living a fully charmed life. Her debut single went platinum and spent 22 weeks in the top 10, 5 of those weeks at number 1. From Kentwood, Louisiana, here's 18-year-old Britney Spears with the Max Martin song, Baby One More Time. That's new star Britney Spears with her 1999 smash, Baby One More Time. It drops in at number 12 on our survey of the biggest hits of the decade. I'm Casey Kasem as our countdown rolls on.
Counting down the hits with Casey Kasem. Counting down the hits with Casey Kasem.
And that means we're up to the brand new number 1 song in the USA. It's by a teenage star who was on her way to becoming a world-class gymnast and then quit just before she reached her peak. This singer was just 7 years old at the time, which seems young. But in the world of Olympic gymnasts, it's a crucial age. If you're not well on your way by your early teens, it's already too late to rise to the highest ranks. Well, this youngster showed great promise at the time. Her mother says that she really excelled as a tumbler and even won her level in the Louisiana State Gymnastics. If she'd stuck with it, the sky was the limit. Olympic gold could be in her future. But even then, this young singer knew it just wasn't her. Her mother says, quote, "One day I was driving her home, and I could see she was miserable. I said, 'Honey, what's wrong?' She said, 'Mama, I don't want to do this anymore. It's too hard.'" The future star decided that she wanted to give up gymnastics and focus on dance. And so even though she was at the top of her class, she dropped out and began learning the skills that would turn this would-be gymnast into a world-class singer and dancer. Skills that this week send her vaulting all the way to the top of the chart. The brand new number 1 song in the USA on American Top 40 is Oops, I Did It Again by Britney Spears. There it is, the brand new number 1 song in the USA on American Top 40, Oops, I Did It Again by Britney Spears. And there you have them. The 40 biggest hits on the pop chart is determined by Radio and Records, the industry's number 1 newspaper.
American Top 40. American Top 40.
When you hear the phrase 9 to 5 these days, you think of Dolly Parton's hit movie and hit song. Well, here's a debut song whose subtitle is 9 to 5. Main title, Morning Train. It's by a Scotswoman named Sheena Easton, and it comes in at number 34.
I wake up every morning.
Sheena Easton's first hit song. She's from Scotland, and she's at number 34 with Morning Train. 33 big hits to number 1 and counting them down.
Casey, coast to coast.
This is Casey Kasem on American Top 40 in Hollywood, and now we're up to the first American hit by a newcomer who had the most incredible break any new singer could ever hope for. Her name is Sheena Easton. She's Scottish, and this is the story that she told us. Sheena finished college in Glasgow, where she also sang with a local band. Then she moved down to London. There she joined another band and figured she'd just have to spend the next couple of years singing in local clubs until she got good enough for a record company to offer her a contract. And that's when Lady Luck stepped in. Sheena had auditioned along with several hundred other teenagers for a BBC television special, a documentary about the first year in a professional teenage singer's recording career. Well, Sheena was the one they chose, and then almost rejected because she was 19 years old and wouldn't be a teenager much longer. But they figured she had the best chance of actually getting a contract. The idea was to film her audition with a record company, and then, if the company signed her, to continue filming her adventures during that first year. So the BBC producers persuaded EMI Records to grant a live audition, and the film crew followed Sheena into the studio, cameras rolling. They filmed her singing 3 songs for the record executives, who then left the room for a private corporate conference and reappeared 15 minutes later to offer Sheena a contract, just like a Hollywood movie. And when that documentary was televised a year later, more than 20 million viewers in Britain and Europe watched Sheena Easton make it through that crucial audition. And what a launching it gave a career that's been rising ever since. Sheena turned 22 just last month, and this is her first hit on the American charts. It's also her first #1. With the most popular song in the USA for the second week in a row, here's Sheena Easton, Morning Train. Sheena Easton with the #1 song in the USA, second week in a row, Morning Train.
American Top 40.
I wish I could have gotten that whole song, but like I told you earlier, a lot of the source material was already pre-made. So I got what I got. I hope you enjoyed that one. That was more 80s and 90s. How'd you like the Britney Spears stuff? That was pretty cool. I wish I had some... They don't have anything from 2000 to 2009 at all on the internet as far as audio goes. They've got the final show all over YouTube in various recordings, but that's it. I mean, there's nothing from like the first Justin Timberlake solo album era or Outkast Hey Ya. That would have been interesting to play for y'all. One of the funny things about Casey, I'm a fan, so I can say this. When it came to rap music, it wasn't his thing. Like, I remember one night I went out with the guys and we got drunk. I had to work from 10 to 7 the next morning, and it was a Sunday morning. So they lived about 20 minutes from the store. I went in with another guy. He dropped me off. We both worked the same time, just in different areas. So he put on WFMF in the car, and Casey Kasem was on. And I forget the number, but it was Lil Jon and the East Side Boys, Get Low. And Casey's talking this like he's trying to be so nondescript but descript, because the song is about grinding on women and trying to be as clean as I can, finishing on them. And Casey's delivery is classic. I wish I had the audio of that. He's talking about something else. He's talking about, like, there's a drink called Crunk Juice, which there was. There was an energy drink for a very short time that this Lil Jon rapper owned and promoted and all that. But that wasn't what the song was about. Casey managed to twist that up, not have to talk about what the song really meant, but somehow put the drink in there. And it was funny. And just his delivery, I mean, you know his style. Here's Lil Jon and the East Side Boys. Get low, get crunk. Number 13. And that's a funny story I remember. And it was always that way with rap music. I mean, he was such a nerd. I can't say he was white because he was Lebanese, you know. But stuff like that I miss, man. You know, I really miss Casey. And I mean, he'll always be in the back of my mind, you know. So, continue on here. I have another cool piece I'm going to show you. Now, the deal with the distribution of American Top 40 is the show was recorded. It was pre-recorded, okay? That's why he says the show is recorded here in Hollywood, because it was recorded in Hollywood, California. In the 70s and 80s, it was distributed to radio stations on vinyl. They would usually get like a 4 LP set. In the 90s, it was compact discs. And I'm pretty sure it was that in the early 2000s as well. I don't know how they do it now. I assume it's digital, but who knows. But in those days, I know in the 70s and 80s it was vinyl. In the 90s and pre-2010 it was compact disc CDs. And radio stations were supposed to play these records once and then throw them away. Because, of course, after you played it, the charts would change the following week. So it was no good. You know? And that's something I thought about. That's a lot of work just to produce a 4-hour show for just 1 week. 1 week's worth of information, you know? You're giving them 1 week's worth of information and it's taking you 4 hours. It's a lot of work. But anyway, well, I suppose some radio stations didn't throw them away. Because you can go to eBay or Mercari, and these records and CDs are being sold on eBay. You can get an America Top 40 show from 1970 all the way to probably the 2000s on compact disc. I mean, they were you get what you get, because these were sent to radio stations to play once and throw out. That was it. They're supposed to be all gone. But there's always people that don't want to throw stuff out. And that's to our benefit. I've never been able to buy any because they sell for several $100s a set. I would love to buy one of the record boxes. That'd be amazing to own a Casey Kasem show, you know, on vinyl or CD, whichever, you know, from whatever era. Now, the only place I have a CD player still is in my car, so I'd probably rather one of the 70s and 80s ones on vinyl. But I'm not going to get one anyway because they're like $300-400 for a box. But people do buy them, as I'm going to show you here. I've been talking about that because I'm going to show you something here. See if I can find it. Alright, here we go. Watch this.
Welcome back to another awesome video.
It's Casey Kasem's American Top 40.
Hits from coast to coast.
If you listen to the American Top 40 rebroadcast today, you're going to hear modern commercials. These have some of the original 1980s commercials.
The American woman has a look all her own, out in a crowd or just being alone. A fit that's right, Xena jeans for the American way of life.
But what's even cooler is these are not designed to be sold or used by people at home. They are for radio stations. So the radio station will get these records and they would put them on the air, and so they've got commercials and all sorts of cool stuff we're going to look at. Now, I did get a 1983. This one's from January 29th, 1983. This one's from 87. We're going to talk mostly about this one. This one, you can tell they started a little bit of cost cutting. This just comes in a sleeve. This has this nice box here. So what is American Top 40? American Top 40 was this national countdown show, and it is in the 80s. This countdown is how I learned about new music, music trivia, what the top songs were, and how with little to no money I can make my own mixtapes.
Also, here's a trivia.
What?
Here's a cool fact. Casey Kasem was a voice on a Scooby-Doo
Yes,
show.
yeah. So Casey Kasem, there are a lot of popular DJs, but without a doubt, the most popular one I'm aware of is Casey Kasem. He not only did these weekly countdowns, he was the voice of Shaggy on Scooby-Doo, and he had a very distinctive voice.
American Top 40's heard in the 50 states and around the world every week on great radio stations like WNKO, Newark, Ohio.
If you listen to these records, you'll hear the music, of course, but also lots of great music trivia.
She wants to know what group in the rock era has had the most top 40 hits without ever hitting number one.
Stories about the performers.
Now, the word coochie is slang for cooked marijuana. And the young members of Musical Youth thought it wouldn't be right for them to sing about that, so they changed coochie to doochie.
And long-distance dedications.
So, Casey, would you please dedicate Somebody's Baby to Sue and to any guy out there who thinks that a gorgeous girl is unreachable?
One thing you should notice right away is they're not like labeled normally. So this says side 1A, right? So
I guess this is what you play for.
Well, look what's on the back. Yes, 4B. Why do you think that is? Well, the reason is, so like if you're playing a record at your house, you got side 1 and 2. This is for a DJ with multiple turntables, so he had to have them set up. So you had to have 1A and 1B on separate turntables. So this one would be spinning, and you flip over to this one, and then while this one's playing, you could replace this one with something else. 4B is actually the end of the countdown, and so it's a 4-hour countdown. Basically, it's divided into these different segments, and so you have these commercial breaks as indicated by the commercials. And we'll go through like how that works, but let's put one of these records on the turntable and see what happens. Yeah, hit the button. Okay, so here we go with 2A. That's first part of hour 2 of the countdown, which should begin with number 31, Space Age Love Song. Every side of every record starts with this tone. I guess it's for aligning your speed or your levels. If you know what it is, leave a comment. Then it jumps to the countdown. A little bit of crackle. Need to clean the records. Okay, so here we go.
Now, as we continue our countdown, I'd like to welcome a new radio station.
Station welcomes.
Top 40 family. It's KMAJ FM in Topeka, Kansas. Great to have you with us. My name's Casey Kasem, and we're counting down the week's biggest hits the way they're ranked on Billboard's Pop Singles chart. And on we go.
Number 31.
The first hit by the Liverpool quartet, A Flock of Seagulls, was Iran. It hit number 9 last October.
Not the country, but actually running.
2 notches into it, and it's called Space Age Love Song.
All right, so basically the DJ, like if this countdown takes up 4 hours. Well, yeah, so they, I guess they could just let some intern run this station for half a day. This aired on Sunday locally, but
You think there's shifts?
I mean, I'm sure, yeah. But anyway, so what's happening right now is we're in a block of 7 minutes and 52 seconds that has 2 songs, and then we have a commercial break number 1 of this hour. Notice it has out cue. We have a network spot that's out cue, voice out cold with only as directed. So I'm sure it's like Comtrek, Trident commercial and a Comtrex commercial each 30 seconds. Then it's up to the DJ to do a local insert of 60 seconds. So
And the local DJ doesn't say anything.
Well, yeah, he just pops in a cartridge that says, whatever your local Chevy dealer is. But let's see how that local insert works, because you have to be really quick. Like my little queuing thing here on this consumer turntable just takes a second or two to come up. I'm sure they had like a slip queue or something really cool at the station, but let's jump ahead past Space Age Love Song and What About Me and go to the sort of the network spot, and we're going to be looking for Only as Directed. And then when you hear that, flip the switch over.
Casey's Coast to Coast. Trident's got news, big news. Trident's big.
So now there's a Trident gum commercial, and then you're going to hear Comtrex, and then as soon as it says use Only as Directed, see if you can
Is that
stop
a medicine commercial?
Yeah, see if you can stop it.
Tastier cinnamon, tastier fruit,
Tastier chews. Big news, big news.
And 4 out of 5 dentists surveyed recommend sugarless gum for their patients who chew gum.
The big news is tastier chews.
New Trident.
More great taste than ever before.
I promised myself this year it wouldn't happen again.
Contrex. It relieves the whole cold. Use only as directed.
All right, perfect. See, you got a little bit. You could be an 80s radio DJ. Okay, then you pop in your local commercial. Now you restart the countdown. And we're back.
Once a week with AT40, and you know how your favorite songs are doing across the U.S.
So now we're on
the
to
first top 40
Shock the
by
Monkey.
Peter Gabriel. Moving up on option number 29, it's Shock the Monkey.
Anyway, I think this A is ASCAP and B is BMI. Those are the rights of these things. And then some of them have don't have anything. Hungry Like the Wolf is not known yet. Yeah. Anyway.
Maybe instead of American Top 40, there should be top YouTube videos.
I don't know.
Make that show.
Sure. So I really enjoyed listening to this 1983 countdown again. There were a couple of interesting, funny things in here. For example, number 37, Billie Jean debuts, and it would go on to be number 2 for the entire year, but it's sort of described as the follow-up to The Girl Is Mine. It's also interesting to hear the advertising. There's a Search commercial that's done from both a male and a female perspective that's the same plot, basically. And at 2 places on the record, the American Top 40 theme just goes on for a long time, which I don't even remember hearing that as a kid because the DJ, I think, would just fade it out. Moving on to the 1987 record, I didn't realize at the time, but this week, Casey was actually on vacation, and he was replaced by Charlie Van Dyke.
I'm Charlie Van Dyke, sitting in for Casey Kasem, who's on vacation this week. So here I am looking at the latest Billboard chart.
There were a couple of interesting things about this record, though. One thing on the 87 record, not on the 83 record, are what's called topical promotions, or topical promos. So I guess they could dub these off to tape or cartridges and use them to promote the countdown during the week. Another interesting thing about this countdown, there is a memo in the paperwork telling the DJ how to bypass a George Michael song in case it's too controversial for your town or something. Another interesting thing about the 87 record is the ads. There's this one ad that's like, usually the ads are light and cheery, but there's this one ad that basically says if you do not watch this TV show, you're going to die.
It won't hurt you to watch it. It might hurt you if you don't. The National AIDS Awareness Test is on this Tuesday night. Check for time and channel. Then tune in. I will. Because I'm 17 years old, and I don't want to die of AIDS.
Feeling good about yourself. Feeling carefree. Nabisco.
They finished first, second, and third at Daytona. They won Europe's Endurance Championship 5 straight times. Now, the legend builds and becomes the CB 1100F. Get behind the fairing. Turn the throttle. The 1100F. Ride your own legend.
Follow the leader. He's on a hot dive.
In the past 3 years, he's become famous as John Cougar. But now he wants to be known by his real name, John Mellencamp.
Seems like forever before a pimple goes away.
Help minimize the weight. Cause Clearasil's been micronized, works fast.
Micronized. For the 3rd week in a row, the most popular song in the land, #1, is by Men at Work, Down Under.
So with the countdown ending, it's time to bring this video to an end with a couple more random facts. One is Casey Kasem was really popular. So popular, he had a parody skit on SNL and on the Ben Stiller Show, and he had to record all these radio station promos. So there's a lot of stuff with some hilarious outtakes that have been leaked to the internet over the years.
The countdown will begin this Saturday morning at 9 and again Sunday morning at 9 right here on Maine's most listened to radio station, I'm not going to say all that. How do I know they're the most listened to station?
Oh,
on, take their word for it. Okay, drop it out and just say right here on...
No, you know what I'm saying?
Another thing about this video is obtaining these records at a reasonable price was not easy. They frequently sell on eBay for well over $100 a set. So recently there were 49 sets that were available starting at $5 and $6 on Goodwill.com. But there was a lot of auction sniping and they got really expensive. The price of this 1983 set that I won doubled in the last 5 seconds of the auction. And the only way I got it I got it for $36 because I watched who was sniping and basically just went a little bit above their maximum price. Now the 1987 set was a lot cheaper. Probably wouldn't have bought that had I realized it was a guest host. But if you found it fun to watch, please give it a like and take a look at our channel, ACB Memphis, to see if the other content is worth subscribing for you. Anyway, thanks, and that's about it.
And we'll see you next time for another awesome video.
And remember, until next time.
Till then, keep your feet in the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
American Top 40 has been brought to you in part by Trident and by Xena Jeans. Xena Jeans, for the American way of life.
That was pretty cool. I would love to get my hands on one of those record sets. Primarily one with Casey Kasem on. I feel bad for him. He got one with a guest host. I don't even know who that guy is. A lot of the guest hosts, you really didn't know who they were. But we're coming up on the last show here that I'm going to play clips of. And that's something that is cool. I knew who Ryan Seacrest was. Most of America knew who he was. At the time he took over American Top 40, he was coming off of American Idol, which had been a hit show for years on Fox. And I mean, it turned him into a superstar overnight. And he was, in a way, he became Mr. Music himself because he was on American Idol. And he was obviously discovering talent and whatnot. So I guess it does seem like a natural fit that he would replace Casey on the country's most popular, most important institution of the hot top 40 records in America. I mean, it was sad. I remember that because his last number one was a song from Shinedown. I forget the name of the song. You'll hear it coming up because I have it on tape, but it escapes my mind right now. Second Chance by Shinedown. That was his last number one he announced. And the following week, Ryan Seacrest was in, and he started it his way. And the show actually amazingly instantly changed. I mean, the reason I was so mad at Ryan Seacrest was because it seemed like he didn't take anything Casey taught him. Because now, as you know, Casey was very sick in his last couple of years doing the show. So I remember in his last year on the air, most of 2008 and half of 2009, he would be on vacation a lot more than he ever had before. People were wondering, was there something wrong with him? Because he was going on vacation a little too much. Well, he was very sick. Duh. Only we didn't really know. All that stuff was kept from the public. Nobody knew that he was sick at all. Like all this info you see about in 2007, he was diagnosed with this. We didn't know that at the time. That was not public information. His health problems were never made public until the Family Feud started for the money. Then all of a sudden, all that stuff started coming out. And that was around 2013. Around then, 2013. And it went on for a little less than a year, and then he passed away. But, anyways, trying to think of things to tell you. So, in 2009, Ryan Seacrest took over, and he's been hosting it ever since, of course. You can hear it right now on your local Top 40 radio station. I know in Orlando it airs on 106.7 FM XL 106. And here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, it airs on 102.5 WFMF. They're both FM stations. I checked the station chart. There's actually 3 AM stations that carry the show today. I find that kind of funny. But it looks like music on AM is coming back. Because every time I check, we now have a music station here in Baton Rouge on AM, 1260. It's, I forget the name of it, but it's like a local thing, of course, in Baton Rouge, and it acts like it's the capital station, you know, and it's on 1260 AM. It reminds me more of a professional KLSU, which is another local station here on 91.1 FM, but the college uses it, LSU, and it's basically a training ground for students in broadcasting. It's very unprofessional. So much so, I don't think the FCC monitors it, because I used to listen to a rap show back in high school in the late 90s. It would come on Sunday nights, midnight to 3 a.m., and they would play all kinds of songs with nasty language and all kinds of stuff, and just, I guess, never get caught. I don't know. Again, it's a training ground for kids trying to learn broadcasting, I guess, and get broadcasting degrees. Okay, so I'm rambling on here. I'm sorry. Let's get into this last montage. It's going to have a bunch of different stuff, some from the 70s, some from the 90s, and it's going to get into his final show. Now, his final show has also been edited down. I don't think there's any full songs in it. His final show, amazingly, was American Top 20. I don't know why, but I can't find anything from the last American Top 40. He did a few different I guess I better explain this. He did a few different variations of the countdown. For Top 40 stations, he did American Top 40. And for adult contemporary, what they call Top 20 stations, he did American Top 20. Now, in the 80s, he did a TV show called America's Top 10, where they showed 10 music videos within an hour, counted down from 10, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that was like a music video variation of the other 2 countdowns that were heard on radio stations. But that was on television. I'm telling you, Casey was music. He was where you went for the new music at the time. There was nobody else. He knew it all. He did it all. He was the man. So, I mean, I lost a friend, and it breaks my heart. I mean, I consider it like I said in the other video, you know, when you listen to these people long enough, they become like your friends, you know, your radio friends. And I listened to him for probably damn near 30 years. 85 to 09, I would say, is 25 years maybe. But that's still a long time. I mean, it felt like I lost a friend when he passed away. It really did. So anyway, I'm going to leave you with this last montage. I hope you enjoy it. It's from Casey's last show. I'm not going to come back after this. It's one of those things. When he signs off, the video is going to sign off. It speaks for itself. The legend, Casey Kasem. There is no other. At least not for me. I love Casey, and I wish he was here, but I understand. So let's get into this. Here's some more Casey Kasem. I hope y'all enjoyed the show, y'all. I might do a part 3 if I can find more stuff. This might become a recurring thing. My Casey Kasem specials. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Again, I cannot say any ill words about Casey Kasem. He is my mentor, my hero, everything I ever looked up to in radio. And I am just heartbroken that he's gone. And I will always cherish the memories I have of his show. Like when I was little. My grandparents, my father's parents, in the backyard, the patio was screened in. And they had fake green grass as flooring over concrete. It wasn't real grass, of course. It was this fake, shaggy type flooring put over the concrete in the ground. They eventually ripped that up, but they ripped that up in the 2000s at some point. But in the 80s and 90s, that's what it was. It was this green shag carpeting stuff. It wasn't carpet. It was, I don't know what you call it. It was like those rolls that you roll out, and it was just somehow adhesive to the concrete. But anyway, my grandmother had this boom box. It was a black boom box made by Magnavox. I'll never forget it. And it had a cassette recorder on it. So I'd go over there with my trusty blank tape, pop it in that boom box. If it happened to be Sunday morning between 8 and 12, Casey Kasem was getting recorded. At least the songs I like. Because back then, you know, I didn't think about recording whole shows. It didn't matter. But if a song I liked came on, of course, I would record it. See, that was something back in those days. A lot of kids ask, how did y'all know to record these songs to get? Well, we didn't. If it was normal airtime, we didn't. They would just instantly come on, announce it, play it, and that was that. But you knew when a song was hot, you know? So you knew it was going to be on Casey Kasem's Top 40. So you knew on Sunday morning between 8 and 12, in Baton Rouge anyway, to put that tape in that recorder and record those songs. That was like our Spotify, our Apple Music, you know, our Pandora. That's what that was, man. Blank cassettes and a boombox. And those were really, really good times. I mean, I look back on those days very fondly. We used to have crawfish boils in their backyard. We would always go over to my grandparents' house on Sunday nights for dinner. The whole family. I mean, that all, of course, slowed down when my grandmother died. We still did it every now and then, you know, after she died, but it was never the same. But before she died, we did it like almost every other Sunday. I mean, I don't want to get emotional on here. Let's just get to this. I'm about to cry. Alright, you guys. Peace out. Enjoy the rest of this. It's going to end with his very last words ever spoken on the air. I wish you all the best. Let's hope for a part 3 in the future. Bye-bye.
Through December 1971. And we've taken a piece from each number one and put them together chronologically in a montage to give us a quick review of the year's biggest sellers. Except one, the last one. Here they are, all the number ones of 1971.
Cherokee people, Cherokee tribe.
And I'll be there, yeah, yeah, yeah. You've got a friend.
How can you mend the broken heart?
We're so sorry, Uncle Albert.
Go away, little girl. Go away, little girl.
Wake up, Maggie, I think I got something to say to you.
GMC, friends and thieves, we hear it from the people of the town. They call us.
Who's the black private dick that's a sex machine to all the chicks?
It's a family affair. It's a family affair.
There you have a piece of the songs that have hit number one during 1971. All except the last one. It's a hit by a singer who put the pressure on Buddha Records so that her album jacket would include her special recipes for health salads. Now, I don't know how she is in the kitchen, but she sure cooks at recording session. This is the 39th number one record of the decade. Brand New Key by Melanie. At number 37, that's Parliament with their first hit song. It's titled Tear the Roof Off the Sucker. Next, the first hit song for one of the actors in Welcome Back, Kotter.
The hits from coast to coast. American Top 40.
Here's the fella who plays Vinnie Barbarino, the tough-talking teenager in Welcome Back, Kotter. His name is John Travolta, and it's his first hit song at number 36, titled Let Her In.
Different today. Hey, hey. Something she said has stuck in my head and I can't get away. Gonna let her in. Gonna let her in. Gonna let her in my life. You know what I find? I find I look at her face and there isn't a trace of doubt in my mind. Gonna let her in. Gonna let her in. Gonna let her in my life. Let her in my life. Gonna open up after so long. Gonna open up after so long with my feet stuck on the ground and my head against the wall. I've been called and I can't answer why. Something inside and it can't be denied and I'm ready to try. Gonna let her in. Gonna let her in. Gonna let her in my life. Gonna let her in. Gonna let her in. Gonna let her in my life. Let her in my life. Gonna let her in. Gonna let her in my life. Let her in my life.
John Travolta at number 36 with a debut record titled Let Her In. American Top 40 originates in Hollywood. My name is Casey Kasem, and the countdown goes on and doesn't stop until we get to number one. At number 35, America is back in the charts, and this song is Today is the Day.
Hold me close. You turn nighttime into day, and you're the most brightest star that lights my way. So come home to me now. about. All the people like to play. So come home to me now. 'Cause it won't matter anyhow. I've got this feeling that today's the day. I've got this feeling today's the day. I've got this feeling that today's the day. I've got this feeling today's the day. Hold me close. You tonight, I'm in today. You're the most brightest star that lights my way. So come home to me now. 'Cause it won't matter anyhow. I've got this feeling that today's the day. I've got this feeling today's the day. I've got this feeling that today's the day. I've got this feeling.
America and their first hit since Daisy Jane back in 1975. That comes in at number 35 and debuts. Today's the day.
Casey's Coast to Coast. American Top 40.
Well, now it's time for my special report on the world's first disc jockey. The man who originated the make-believe ballroom. The man who in middle age could not get a job in the industry he helped pioneer. Back in the early 30s, radio stations weren't licensed to play commercial pop records. They used live orchestras or special recordings not by name artists. Well, at one Los Angeles radio station, there was a 20-year-old announcer named Al Jarvis who hounded his boss into letting him play commercial records by the big stars of the day, people like Al Jolson and Bing Crosby. And in 1932, the Make-Believe Ballroom opened its doors for the first time. Never before had commercial popular records been aired regularly on a commercial radio station. And in pop history books, that makes Al Jarvis the world's first disc jockey. But there's more to his story. Jarvis ran the Make-Believe Ballroom for a quarter of a century. And during that time, there were literally hundreds of carbon copies of his show all over the country. Finally, he closed the doors of the ballroom in 1957. His total earnings were well over $1 million. But so was his spending. In the 60s, he drifted among several Los Angeles fringe stations while he tried to get new shows and projects started. But radio wasn't interested in the world's first DJ anymore. He wound up selling cosmetics and auto accessories. In September 1969, Al Jarvis made one final dramatic plea. He picketed on Sunset Boulevard in front of KMPC, a popular Los Angeles station, carrying a sign that said, "There must be a place for me in radio." A few loyal friends picketed along with him, including disc jockeys Dick Whittinghill, Joe Yoakum, George Jay, and Dick Clark. Nothing happened. Nobody would hire the world's first disc jockey. And 8 months later, Al Jarvis died of a cerebral hemorrhage. For American Top 40 and myself, I salute a man whose energy and imagination started something that's so much a part of our lives that we take it for granted. Being able to hear our favorite songs by our favorite artists on the radio. And the countdown continues.
The hits are hits.
5, 4, 3, 2, number 1. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to American Top 20. I'm Casey Kasem. This week marks the 39th anniversary of the countdown. We began the weekend of July 4th, 1970, and after 39 years, this will be our final countdown. But before we get started, let's recap last week's top 3. At number 3, You Found Me by The Fray. At number 2, If Today Was Your Last Day by Nickelback. And at number 1 for a second week, Second Chance by Shinedown. Does Second Chance have a chance at the top for a third week? Only one way to find out. Let the countdown begin.
Number 20.
Holding steady is the 5-man band Parachute with She Is Love.
1, 2.
I've been beaten down. I've been kicked around. American Top 20.
These are the hottest songs in the USA. 3 years ago, one of the hottest songs was by the Canadian supergroup Nickelback. Here's Far Away.
This time, this place, misused mistakes. Too long, too late. Who was I to make you wait? Just one chance, just one breath, just in case there's just one left. 'Cause you know, you know, you know, I love you. I loved you all along. I miss you. Been far away for far too long. I keep dreaming you'll be with me, and you never know. Stop breathing if I don't see you anymore.
I'm Casey Kasem. Well, now we're up to an extra. The song I Don't Want to Miss a Thing by a band whose lead singer didn't want to miss the song's video. So he performed with a broken knee. It was back in 1998. Aerosmith was performing in Anchorage, Alaska, when singer Steven Tyler took a fall and seriously injured one of his knees. He needed immediate surgery. But Steven had one thing to do first. He flew to Los Angeles with the band to tape the video for the song I Don't Want to Miss a Thing. And he did it with his damaged knee in a cast. Though he was in pain, Steven performed with his trademark energy, except in this case, he wasn't leaping around the stage. He says, "Once I got into it, the pain went away. I had roadies watching me to make sure I didn't try to run around. That would have been bad." Now, here's Aerosmith with that song, an extra from 1998, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing.
I could stay awake just to hear you breathing. Watch you smile while you are sleeping, while you're far away and dreaming. I could spend my life in this sweet surrender. I could stay lost in this moment forever. Every moment spent with you is a moment I treasure. Don't wanna close my eyes. I don't wanna fall asleep 'cause I miss you, baby. And I don't wanna miss a thing. 'Cause even when I dream of you, the sweetest dream would never do. I'd still miss you, baby.
I'm Casey Kasem. Now on with the countdown.
Number 14.
Here's Lady Gaga standing pat with her second top 20 hit, Poker Face.
I wanna hold them like they do in Texas, please. Fold them, let them hit me, raise it, baby, stay with me. I love it. Love game, intuition, play the cards with spades to start. And after he's been hooked, I'll play the one that's on his heart. I'll get him high, show him what I got. I'll get him high, show him what I got. Can't read my, no, we can't read.
Well, now we're up to our long-distance dedication. It comes from a longtime listener in Massachusetts named Adam. And this is what Adam writes. Dear Casey, when the news recently broke that your shows would be ending, I, along with many others, were quite upset. After all, a lot of us have been listening to you count down the hits for many years now. However, I know there's a time when people have to move on. Casey, you've touched a great number of people through your shows, and you should be very proud of the impact you've had on our society. The radio waves just won't be the same without you. I know that I speak for every one of your fans out there when I say that we will miss you greatly, and we appreciate everything you've done for us over all these years. So, could you please play Thank You for Being a Friend? I know it's a song whose lyrics ring true with all your fans, young and old. Thank you for being our friend, Casey. We'll miss you so much. Signed, Adam. Adam, here's your long-distance dedication.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down a road and back again. Your heart is true, you're a pal and a confidant. I'm not ashamed to say, I hope it always will stay this way. My hat is off, won't you stand up and take a bow? Casey counts them down.
We're on our way to number 1, leaping 3 notches to number 6. Here's Miley Cyrus with The Climb.
I can almost see it, that dream I'm dreaming, but there's a voice inside my head saying you'll never reach it. Every step I'm taking, every move I make feels lost with no direction. My faith is shaken, but I gotta keep trying. Gotta keep my head held high. There's always gonna be another mountain. I'm always gonna wanna make it move. Always gonna be an uphill battle. Sometimes I'm gonna have to lose. It ain't about how fast I get there. Ain't about what's waiting on the other side. It's the climb.
Now we're up to an extra by Natalie Imbruglia, a woman who became a musician so she wouldn't be deported. Natalie was a successful actress in Australia, but she left her homeland to find fame and fortune in England. Her visa was only good for 6 months, and while she tried to land a TV gig, she couldn't find a job. Then, just days before her visa expired, a friend introduced her to a music publisher. Even though Natalie had never sung professionally, she was hoping he'd give her a chance. And he did. He was impressed with her nerve and with her good looks. He had Natalie sing on a demo. To his surprise, Natalie wasn't just a pretty face. She could really sing. And that led to a singing career and a hit that became an international smash. From 1998, here's Torn.
To life, he was warm, he came around like he was dignified. He showed me what it was to cry. Well, you couldn't be that man I adored. You don't seem to know, seem to care what your heart is for. Well, I don't know him anymore. There's nothing where he used to lie. Conversation has run dry. That's what's going on. Nothing's fine, I'm torn. I'm all out of faith. This is how I feel. I'm cold and I am shamed, lying naked on the floor. Illusion never changed into something real.
we're up to the number one song in the land, and our look back at 4 amazing decades, counting them down. The countdown began on the 4th of July, 1970. It was an idea that my partner Don Bastani and I came up with. Our first show took more than 18 hours to record. And at first, we only had 7 stations. But Don and I believed, and so did a growing number of listeners. Back then, there were no long-distance dedications on the show. That didn't come along until 1978, when Matt Wilson located one in the mail. And Matt's been with us ever since. To date, we've read more than 3,000 of your dedications. Over the years, musical trends have come and gone, from disco to new wave, from punk to hip-hop, from bubblegum to rock. We've been there, counting them down. It's been a great 39 years, and it's really been an honor for me. But we're not finished yet. Our first number one back in 1970 was Mama Told Me Not to Come by Three Dog Night. And we've got one more song to go. The number one song in the USA for a third week is Second Chance by Shinedown.
My eyes are open wide. By the way, I made it through the day. I watched the world outside. By the way, I'm leaving out today. I just saw Haley's comments your way. Said, why you always running in place? Even the man in the moon disappeared. Somewhere in the stratosphere. Tell my mother, tell my father, I've done the best I can to make them realize this is my life. I hope they understand. I'm not angry, I'm just saying sometimes goodbye is a second chance.
There it is, the number one song in the USA on American Top 20 for a third week, Second Chance by Shinedown. I'd like to share with you something I've learned over the years. Success doesn't happen in a vacuum. You're only as good as the people you work with and the people you work for. I've been lucky. I've worked for and with the very best. American Top 20 is a production of the Premier Radio Networks. AT20 was created by Casey Kasem and Don Bastani. Produced by Lori Crimmy. Our staff includes Matt Wilson, Merrill Schindler, and Toby James Petty. Production and engineering by Michael Cooper and Ray Hernandez. I'm Casey Kasem. Now, one more time, the words I've ended my show with since 1970. Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
That was it. His final words spoken on AM, FM radio. I'm tearing up. I mean, he was such a big part of my life. I had to come back. I know I said I wasn't going to come back, but I got so many stories to share. Just not enough time, you know, because I think of things sporadically. I'm sorry, that kind of brought me down. But yeah, that was his last broadcast, July 5th, 2009. Now, what's funny is the show started on July 4th, 1970, but the final broadcast, his last broadcast, was July 5th, 2009. I had to think about that for a minute. And you notice Well, I don't know where I was going with that, but how cryptic was that Miley Cyrus song, "The Climb"? I mean, that I started crying when I heard that. If you hear him talk it up, and then you hear it, and you just know what happened, you know, and I mean, it just makes me break down. I mean, that's very powerful to me. So, I mean, I like that song, but I don't like hearing it anymore because it reminds me of Casey Kasem's last broadcast, and just the knowledge that 5 years later he passed away. I don't know what to say. And you know, I put a bunch of other stuff in there. There was the story about Al Jarvis. That was from a 1976 broadcast. And then you had, how cool was the John Travolta part? That was also from a broadcast in 1976. Yes, John Travolta, the actor from Face Off, and what other great movies? Broken Arrow, Phenomenon. He's been in so many movies. He tried to become a singing star. He made 2 records, and that was it. They told him, keep acting. Stay off the mic. I actually own both records in near mint condition. Amazingly, I paid $1 each for them, which goes to show you, he stunk. He never made the top 10. I think that's probably a lucky broadcast. That has to be the only time he appeared on American Top 40. I would assume it went right back down the charts. There's actually a broadcast that I've heard on Sirius from 1977 with a Marie Osmond song I love. That's the Way That I Feel or something. This is the way that I feel. Anyway, it hit number 39, but then it went back down, so it was only on one show. Poor Marie. I'm sure Travolta got that treatment. I'm going to have to come back with a part 3, I am. I found some more stuff. I found an ABC Person of the Week segment with Casey Kasem featured. And, I mean, it's just, I don't know what to freaking convey to everybody. I loved Casey Kasem. He felt like a part of my family. And when he died, it broke my heart. I mean, it was like experiencing one of my grandparents dying over again, you know? It just was one of those things. I don't want to say. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed that. And we're going to cut it here for real. And I may or may not come back with a part 3. It depends what I find. But this was a lot longer than the first one I did yesterday. So, but that's because YouTube cut out about an hour's worth of content. It was about an hour and 45 minutes. So, reduced down to about 35 minutes. Anyway, have a great night, y'all, and I will see you later. Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars.